Today I'm going to be taking a look at a Linux distribution that I've never looked at before. Some viewers of mine have requested that I take a look at BlankOn Linux. BlankOn is an Indonesian-based, Debian-based Linux distribution that uses its own custom GNOME shell that they call the Manokwari desktop. So, never taken a look at BlankOn, and I've never used the Manokwari desktop shell before, so this should be fun. Let's get started. So, BlankOn Linux. What is BlankOn Linux all about? Well, let's check out their website. So this is blankonlinux.or.id. .id, I guess, is the Indonesian domain address, domain extension. I would love to read this page and tell you what BlankOn is all about, but there's a problem. It's all in Indonesian. There is no English translation to their website. There's no translation to any other language on their website. I guess I could use Google Translate, but I spent about 5 minutes before hitting the start record button here today to record this video, looking around their website so I could find the ISO. And it took me forever to find what link was the ISO, because there's no real easy way to figure out, where to download the dang thing. So you guys, you're probably going to need to use Google Translate for BlankOn. For a easier to read description of BlankOn, I did go to DistroWatch. They do have a BlankOn page. BlankOn is a Debian-based distribution developed by the Indonesian Linux Mover Foundation and BlankOn developer team. It is an Indonesian distribution that includes a variety of software that is widely used by consumers in general, such as office programs, financial applications, internet applications, drawing, both vector and bitmap support for various multimedia file formats, as well as other interesting programs. And it also seems to be a relatively popular Linux distribution. Again, I've never looked at it. I've never really heard of it until recently. But, popularity, it is just outside the top 100 in the page hit rankings for DistroWatch. They're currently ranked 128. So, like I said, just outside the top 100. So a lot of people do apparently use BlankOn. There is some interest in it. Certainly some interest probably from Indonesian Linux users. So I have pulled down the ISO. The ISO, let me see how big that thing was. I don't remember right offhand how big. 1.8 gigabytes in size. So not the biggest ISO, but it's not going to be a minimal distribution either. But again, it's using their own custom GNOME shell called the Manokwari desktop. So I'm really interested in taking a look at this thing. So today I'm going to install this inside a VM. So let me get started on that. Pull up my virtual box here. And I've already created a virtual machine here. I'm going to give it 4 gigs of RAM. For a processor, I'll give it 2 cores of my 6-core CPU. Storage, we need to attach the ISO, of course. So BlankOn 11.0.1. I'm also going to go down here to user interface and turn off all the menus and systray and everything that can appear in these virtual boxes. I want you guys basically to see nothing but the actual operating system here. So there's going to be no menu system or anything here in the virtual machine. And we boot it up for the first time and see what happens. Got my morning coffee today. And we wait. Of course, this is booting it directly off the ISO, the live image. Same as booting it off a live USB stick or a live DVD. Sometimes it takes a while for these things to boot up the first time. Alright, so hello. Welcome to the BlankOn installation program. Choose your language and region below, yada yada yada. So English US has been chosen for me. That is correct. Do we want to continue using the live CD or install BlankOn? I want to run through the installation process. I want to see what this is all about. Okay, time zone. By default, it's got Asia, Jakarta, Indonesia. I am not in Indonesia, though I am in the central time zone here in the US, so America, Chicago works for me. Click Next. Installation. Let's see. I've only got one virtual hard drive in this virtual machine, so let's see. Please choose the partition on device below which you would like to install BlankOn into, or use advanced partitioning tools for more control. Let's see. You are choosing a free space partition to be installed with BlankOn. The selected partition will be wiped out. Swap partition will be created if you don't have one. Okay, I don't mind them creating a swap, I guess. I created by the way, a 15 gig VM here, so I should have plenty of space. So, all right, now we need to do our, host name and all that. I'll call my computer DT. I'll call myself DT. I'll call my username DT. Let me give the DT user my super secure and complicated password. Now we need to repeat that password. Alright, and then automatically log in. No, I don't want to do that for security reasons. I want it to enforce my strong password. Let's see, your password must contain at least 8 characters, a capital, and a numeric. No, let's turn that off. I want to use my own password. I don't want you to tell me what password I can use. Not in a VM. Alright. Now our installation summary, all this looks good. I'm just going to click install, and the installation process should begin. I will say this was a very, very unique installation screen. Really attractive and, not bad. Installation error occurred though. Okay, well, let me exit out of that and see what I can figure out here. It's probably going to boot me into the live environment. I may just have to review the live environment if I can't get it installed. I'm going to pause the video. I'll be right back. Alright, so I restarted this VM to get back, to this portion of the installer, because I assume it was a problem with the partitioning and the partition tables. I clicked on the free space here for my partition. Earlier, you're choosing free space. I'm not sure what's going on, though. It doesn't look like it's really choosing it. Let me enter what they call advanced mode. Okay, so earlier I did create /dev/sda1, but look, it only gave it 0.1 gigs of space. I don't know why it did that. Let's delete that. Now we have /dev/sda1, 15 gigs. Yeah, create that. Can we do that? Make it primary, mount point. Of course, we need to be root. That should work. Create that partition. Apply. I hope that worked. I don't know why the automatic partitioning did not work when I went through it. I don't know why it would create a 0.1 gig partition when I was trying to choose, of course, the whole free space. So, and I click the installation again, and let's see if it actually runs this time or gives me an error. I should know very quick because it threw up that error, just a few seconds after beginning the installation last time. I'm not getting an error message this time though, so I think it's correct, so I'm going to let that run. I'll pause the video and I'll be back once the installation completes, hopefully. And the installation ran for a few minutes and it looked like it was doing what you expected the installer to do, but once again, installation error occurred. Please take a look at the installation log, /var/log blankon-installer. You know what? I might actually take a look at that log. Let me exit out of the installer and get to the live environment. And what I'll probably do is I'll just review BlankOn as a live disk, a live image. You guys saw what the installation should do anyway. Obviously it failed on me, but let's see. Let me open up their file manager. See if I can get to the root file system here. This is, of course, Nautilus, GNOME's file manager. Where is, maybe other locations? Computer? I don't use this file manager that often, the Nautilus file manager. Alright, so that log file was var log, I think it was log installer, right? Let's see, or installer log. BlankOn installer log. There it is. Let's see. All right. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to figure out what went wrong here. I'm just going to see if there's some obvious information here. And it looked like the installer was doing exactly, I mean, it's reading the database, removing certain files, during the installation, purging configuration files. I mean, it looked like that install should have worked. And then installing grub was one of the last things. So was it grub? Yeah, warning, this GPT partition label contains no BIOS boot partition. Embedding won't be possible. Okay, so it was a problem installing grub. Grub can only be installed in this setup by using block lists. However, block lists are unreliable. Yeah. I wonder if I should have just created a partition table in gparted and just, bypassed that whole partition thing in the BlankOn installer. And probably would have worked out better for me. Anyway, let me close out all of this. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at BlankOn. I'm just going to take a look at the live image since I can't get it to install properly, at least not in VirtualBox. Went through the install 3 times. It failed all 3 times, twice on camera, once off camera. I'm sure I could probably correct the situation and fix some things and get it to install properly if I wanted to put the time in. But, for these Linux distro reviews, basically, I'm taking a look at their distro and their installer. I'm judging it. I'm not trying to solve problems. Not on these videos. So their installer, I got to give it a complete fill, whatever it's doing with the automatic partitioning. And then, of course, grub apparently doesn't want to install properly either. So not really impressed with BlankOn so far, at least the installer. Let's take a look at the desktop though. This is the Manaquari desktop. So this is their own custom GNOME shell. Looks like they have a panel at the bottom. It's kind of dock-like. I'm not sure if there's any kind of settings or anything we can do with this. I'm not sure. Can we move things around? Yeah, you can kind of move things around. Okay, and I can actually just drag it to this trash can, I guess, to get rid of it. So that's pretty neat. Let's see what kind of menu system they have. If I go to this top menu here, okay, you get one of the sidebars to come out. Manaquari, that desktop, has these sidebars, which kind of remind you of the Raven sidebar and Budgie. This one, of course, is your menu system, this left sidebar, but they also have a right sidebar that is more of like that Raven sidebar and Budgie that has your system settings and preferences and notifications, your music player. That actually looks really, really cool. I really kind of like the sidebars. That's not bad. The menu system sidebar here, it's not bad either. We could, of course, search for programs, but I'm going to just go through the menu here and see what is installed by default. I really like how that drop down there. I was expecting like a submenu to pop up, but it does this little drop down. That's pretty neat. I kind of like that. That's not bad. Under accessories, we have our archive manager for zip, unzip, tar, gz, that sort of thing. We have our calculator, which I'm assuming is going to be the GNOME calculator. We have basic mode, advanced mode. And it does appear to be GNOME's calculator. Also under accessories, we have the GNOME disk utility. I'll actually open that. What is going on with my disk right now? So I created this 16 gig virtual hard drive. Yeah, extended 4. It's not mounted. Of course, it's not mounted now because I rebooted the machine, but yeah. Anyway, that's the GNOME disk utility. Really nice utility. One of the better GNOME utilities. So, of course, we have files. Files is the Nautilus file manager. Nautilus is the actual name of the file manager. Like if you opened a terminal and wanted to run files in GNOME, you would actually type the word Nautilus. That's the name of the program. But for some reason, GNOME, they renamed their utilities and their menu system to these really generic, simple names like files. And I kind of hate that. That really doesn't tell you anything about the program. Files. I mean, it tells you it's a file manager, but what if you have multiple file managers installed in your system? Give me the actual name of the program, not files and fonts and disk and text editor and, these really generic names. I hate that. Password and keys, we have a screenshot utility, file search utility. Oh, they did actually rename the text editor from just being text editor to gedit text editor. The BlankOn guys probably renamed that. GNOME, in most GNOME distros, they still just call it text editor, but that's gedit. A really nice plain text editor. Really, it's got a lot of plugins. It's configurable. You can almost turn gedit into an IDE if you want to. Really nice program. Education, we have a couple of education programs. G-Compress, which is an educational game, and recipes. We have games. Well, we have Pac-Man. Insert coin. That's pretty cool. They include that old arcade-style game Pac-Man here. Under graphics, we have our document viewer. We have GIMP. Let's see what version of GIMP we're on. By the way, this version of BlankOn, this was the latest version, but it was released back in May, so it's about 3-4 months old now. And BlankOn is, according to the DistroWatch page, they have had regular releases for many, many years. They've been around for a while, which is surprising. I hadn't heard of it. Anyway, this is obviously GIMP 2.8, 2.8.20. So now, of course, GIMP is on version 2.10, so the next release of BlankOn probably will see 2.10. Also under graphics, we have ImageMagick, Image Viewer, Inkscape for your vector graphics art, where GNU, the GNU image manipulation program, GIMP, of course, is for raster. And LibreOffice Draw is also included under graphics. Under Internet, we have Corebird. Okay, you don't see that installed very often on distros. That is a Twitter client. For those of you still using Twitter, I recommend you guys not use Twitter. Join me over on Mastodon. It's a much friendlier place, much better than Twitter ever was, really. Really love Mastodon. Firefox is, of course, the default web browser here in BlankOn. And it's going to be an older version of Firefox, again, because the ISO is not recent. Yeah, 58.0.1. And close multiple tabs. Firefox always loves to warn you about closing multiple tabs. I really hate that. Yeah, I always turn that off. Geary is our email client. Pigeon is our instant messenger client, for those of you who still use instant messengers. Office, we have Document Viewer, of course, and the entire LibreOffice suite. We have Base, Calc, Draw, Impress, Math, and Writer. Sound and video, we have Audacious. Audacious is a nice, lightweight, minimal audio player. Really neat program. Let's see, also under sound and video, we have the Brasero Disk Burner. For those of you that still burn disk, I still burn discs sometimes. I burn DVDs and CDs occasionally. CDs especially, because I still have a CD burner in my car. Brasero is a nice disk burning utility. If I was running GNOME and it was already installed, I wouldn't change it. Brasero just works. For me, though, on my systems, because I don't normally run these full desktop environments, I get to pick and choose my programs. I usually install K3B as a disk burner because it's just fantastic. It's a KDE app, but it really doesn't pull down that many dependencies. So, Cheese is our webcam application here, and VLC is our multimedia player, our video player. Let's see what version of VLC we're working on. 3.0.0. Pretty recent release of VLC. I think they've had 1 or 2 releases since then, though. Minor point releases. We have a science category. The only thing in that is LibreOffice Math. Under System Tools, the usual suspects, Disk Usage Analyzer, the GDebi package installer. GDebi is a graphical way to install a deb package, a .deb package. You can install .deb packages, of course, in the command line, open a terminal and run a command to install your deb packages. But this offers you a graphical way of installing those things when you pull them down from the internet. And also under System Tools, we have the BlankOn installer, but that's only on the live image. It won't be there once you install BlankOn. It gets rid of things like the installer and Gpart. They probably will no longer be on the system. Because they're dangerous, right? You don't want the installer or the partition editor on the system after installation, usually, because most people don't need to play with that stuff. Network tools, power stats. We have our root terminal, which launches, the GNOME terminal, but with root privileges. You see the pound symbol instead of the dollar symbol. The pound symbol means I'm root. When you see the dollar symbol, that means you're home user. All right, and we have our software. This is the GNOME software, basically your software center here, where you can search for programs by category, or you can just do a search. So if I wanted to search for a program, I could click this little search field and start typing. All right. Under the Preferences category, not much here of note. We have our Settings Manager, of course, but we also have the Tweak tool. Is this the GNOME Tweak tool? Configuration changes require restart. Your session needs to be restarted for changes to take effect. No, cancel all of that, because I can't restart and change anything. This is a live ISO, so. But that is the Tweak tool. Can't do much with it running a live image. Obviously, if I had this installed, then I could play with things and then restart the system and they would take effect. Under Administration, Synaptic Package Manager is installed. Synaptic is fantastic. Pretty much if I'm running any Debian-based or Ubuntu-based distro, I always install Synaptic Package Manager if I want some kind of graphical package installer. Just a fantastic program. To use it, you just search for whatever package you're looking to install. If I wanted to install HTOP, for example, I could do a search. HTOP is right here. I just highlight it, mark for installation, hit apply, and HTOP should install. I'm not going to do that on the ISO here, on the live image, because it won't stick. so quit it. All right, and that is pretty much BlankOn in a nutshell as far as the programs installed. The only thing of note really is the menu system, which I like. I like this sidebar menu system. The right sidebar, which basically just gives you quick access to your settings. This would be, where is the settings manager? Do they have it here? Let me open it. So this is your, of course, GNOME settings. But if I go back to that sidebar, if I can get to it, let me move this out of the way so I can get to it. Working with a small screen resolution because no VirtualBox guest editions here. But that would give me a lot of the same information, background, user date, online regional display, that would be here, of course. Background, notification, search, region, online. So just a quick way to get to those settings if you need them. Of course, and also your clock. If you were running music in your music player, of course, you could just hit play here, and of course, Audacious, would launch and play whatever song you had loaded. We can get weather, actually, here. And they give an example. Let me type that example. Bandung, Jakarta. Let's see if that actually works. Yes, it does. And it gives me the weather in Bandung right now. Okay, pretty cool. Bookmarks, we have some social media information, Facebook and Twitter. Again, I don't recommend you guys use those services. If you're kind of privacy and security minded, which many people, that's kind of how a lot of us get into using something like Linux, get off of Facebook and get off of Twitter. Check out Mastodon. Can't recommend that enough. You guys looking for a Facebook alternative, you like the Facebook experience, check out Diaspora. It's really nice too. Let's see if we can change our wallpapers. Where would I go for a wallpaper change? Let me open up the settings manager again. Background, here we go. And see what kind of wallpapers are installed by default. We do have this BlankOn branded wallpaper here. Let's see if I can click on it. Things are acting a little slow here in the VM. Oh, it's still trying to load wallpapers. That's weird. Yeah, things are really acting slow here. Anyway, it does look like it has a nice collection of wallpapers. Once they finally all load. Yeah, some beautiful nature photos. And a lot of BlankOn branded wallpapers too. Looks pretty neat. I like dark wallpapers. Let's select one and let me minimize that. That's actually, pretty sharp looking wallpaper. I'd probably just run with that. And of course, you could also change the lock screen too. So anyway, that's just a quick first impression first look of BlankOn version 11. which is BlankOn Linux XI, because they use Roman numerals, I guess, for their version numbers. At least on their website, it was listed as BlankOn XI, BlankOn 11. What are my final thoughts here? Just this quick first impression, installation, and first look. Kind of disappointed with BlankOn, the installer. The desktop, this Mana Quarry desktop shell, is not bad. It's a little bit unpolished, a little rough around the edges. It needs, some work, but as a distribution, I think it's fine. They need to fix that installer, though the installer looked beautiful. That black installer with a black background and, kind of like the blue writing and the blue buttons that when you clicked on them turned red reminded me a lot of, kind of the theme, color scheme of something like Windows 10, for example. Really sharp, professional looking installer. Problem is the automatic partitioning didn't work the first time. It created a insanely small partition, which of course caused the installer to fail. The second time, I was able to go in advanced mode and create the right size partition that I needed. But then the installer still failed because Grub didn't install properly. So if your installer isn't working, I kind of have to give your distribution a pass, unfortunately. But I think it's an interesting project, especially that Mana Quarry desktop shell. I'm going to keep following BlankOn on the channel. Maybe the next time they have a major version release, I'll definitely check it out. So before I go, I do need to give a special thanks to my patrons. I'm talking about A.K. Alan Ansem, Alex, Tony, Bart, Benjamin, Ben, Bruno, Brian, Carlos, Christian, Chuck, Dan, the other Dan, Daniel, David, the other David, Eduardo, Greg, Humade, Interceptor, Jake, John, Carl, Katrina, Keith, Leor, Marcus, the other Marcus, Matt, Mark, Martin, Matthias, Michael, Mr. GFY, Mr. Smarty Pants, Mr. Nilly Potts, Paul, Rob, Robert, Ron, Silvio, First Stephen, Second Stephen, Third Stephen, Swami, Tiedemann, Voice Live, Two Bella, John. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.